You break your fish on, baby. Woo! Oh, wow, another big fish. Oh my, hurt my net. I'm gonna keep this guy. If I'm lucky enough to get him in the net. Oh man, he pulled off some line right there. Come on, baby. Oh, woo. Just making crazy runs. Oh my God. Oh my God. Come on, baby. This is a red hot fish. Oh, wow, wow. Oh man. I haven't had a fish smoking my drag like that. Long time. 50-degree water. It's really well oxygenated right now, and they got a lot of stem. Come on, get your head up. There he is. Wow, look at that. Whoa! Oh man, what a way to end the day. Look at that fish, guys. Look at that stud of a rainbow. Oh my gosh. What a way to end the day. Look at that. That fish is almost as long as my arm. Oh, Eagle Lake. Awesomeness. Look at that trout. Wow.
Wow. I love trout fishing from a pedal kayak. I'm passionate about it. I feel at one with the water, at one with the fish when I'm in my kayak. I feel like I'm part of the kayak. I feel like the kayak's part of me. It's a more effective fishing platform than a big boat. It just is. I've had all kinds of boats. I have a big guide boat now. I've had big sponsored sleds. And I can tell you, hands down, there is no platform for trout and salmon fishing as effective as a pedal kayak. It's versatile, it's simple, it's stealthy, it doesn't scare the fish, and it allows you to manipulate your baits in a direct manner that you just can't achieve on a powerboat. I can slow down, I can speed up, I can dive into the pedals and actively hook fish. You can't do any of those things on a powerboat. I can also work a very small area. I can work small lakes. I can work in real tight to the shore where most boaters don't dare go because of obstructions, rocks, trees, stuff like that. Pedal kayaks are a highly versatile trout and salmon fishing platform. I'm very passionate about them, and you will be too. If you've never gotten on a pedal kayak, you owe it to yourself to get out in one, get on the water, and man, I think you're going to be sold. I can't tell you how many people I've taken out for a day of trout fishing on my fleet of Hobie pedal kayaks and had them turn around, go right to Kayak City in Sacramento and purchase a kayak of their own. I've got a guy up in Washington State, my buddy Pete. I took him out kayak fishing once. He has a beautiful North River boat. He's bought kayaks now, and he seldom goes out in the North River. He just prefers the kayak. He likes the simplicity, he loves the effectiveness, and he loves that feeling of being one with the water, being one with the kayak. Man, you feel like you are just directly fishing all these baits with your feet, with the kayak. It's an apex experience, and it definitely makes you a better trout and salmon fishing angler, better and more effective. When I started fishing from a pedal kayak, my scores went up, and I pondered for a while, am I becoming a better fisherman? No, the answer was no. I was fishing from a better, more effective platform. That's what a pedal kayak is when it comes to trout and salmon trolling. Any discussion of kayak fishing or any kind of small boat fishing should start with the safety aspect. First and foremost, if you're going to go on a kayak, you're going to go on a small boat, a canoe, whatever it is, you need to be wearing a personal flotation device. And you'll notice Lucy back there, she also has a personal flotation device on. And I know I hear from people all the time, well, I'm a good swimmer. That's fantastic. I guarantee you, you are not as good a swimmer as that Labrador in the back of this kayak. And guess what? I won't allow her to come out here on the kayak without the life jacket on, because water kills. It's cold. It's an environment that's hostile to people. It can be hostile to dogs. So you want to put all the odds in your favor of coming back from your trip unscathed. I have never fallen out of this kayak, but I have never been in the kayak without my MRS life jacket on. Now, here right on the front of the life jacket, you're going to see some things. I have my cell phone. That's important. That's my means of communication. Sometimes I carry a personal beacon, like an EPIRB. So if I get in trouble and I'm out of cell phone range, where I can hit the button on there and I know rescuers are coming. But here I have pretty good cell reception. It's a small lake and there's a lot of hikers around here. So I feel pretty comfortable just with the cell phone. If I yelled, people at virtually any point on this lake could hear me. So, and I've already seen some joggers. There's another fella fishing. So long story short, I have a means of communication if I get in trouble. Of course, I have a line cutter on here. That's just to make it convenient to cut line. I have two cutting devices on this vest. I have my day in, day out. I just want to cut something. My little buck knife, little finger knife. It's very cool. Goes in this little Kayaks sheath. Very handy to have. This is the knife I've never used. I hope to never use it ever. It's got a push button right here. Deploy it. It's got a blunt tip. It's got serrations on this side. It's got a line cutter over here. It has a regular blade over here. This is the blade I'm going to reach for if ever I get in trouble. If I get tangled in rope, if I need to cut rope, if I need to cut my downrigger line, I'm going to hook it right in there and I'm going to cut it off. Okay? So that is a knife that is never used except for emergencies. And since I've never had an emergency, I've never used the knife. This is probably only the third time it's been out of the sheath. But it's right there. It's like an insurance policy. It's ready to rock and roll. So that is my personal safety devices, the PDF, the knife, stuff like that. Beyond that, a great safety device that not a lot of people talk about is your common sense, your brain. If you look at the lake and it's windy or it's super cold and you just have that feeling in your gut where you're like, I'm not comfortable, but I want to fish. If you're not comfortable, don't go out there. Okay? That's very important. If your sixth sense is telling you it's not safe for me out there today, hey, don't put the kayak in the water. Go to the donut shop, have some coffee, live to fish another day. Are kayaks themselves a safe platform? Absolutely. And I've been out in this kayak in 40-mile-an-hour wind before. I've been caught out on lakes in really big rollers. I've been on trips with very experienced kayaking buddies when we've looked at the lake. Did this fall at Eagle Lake. It was blowing 25. It was spitting snow. We knew it was going to spike up to 35 or 40 miles an hour. But because we were experienced, we knew how to handle our kayaks in that kind of water. We went out. We had a good day. It was challenging, but we caught several nice trout. So as you gain experience in your kayak, you're going to feel more and more comfortable with adverse conditions. But I will tell you, this is a Hobie Pro Angler 14. This is one of the premier fishing kayaks. It's one of the biggest pedal kayaks you can get. I have gotten caught out in some very scary water, some very big winds that weren't forecast, things like that. This kayak has always brought me back safe. I've been scared in this kayak, but I've never come close to falling in. Water can flow into the kayak. It flows right back out. It's a very safe platform, and I know I can bet my life on this platform. I've done it. It's very safe. But first and foremost, you need to be wearing your safety equipment, and you need to use good judgment based on your comfort level based on your experience level and based on your competence in the kayak on any given day. Beyond using good judgment and always wearing the personal flotation device, stuff like that, other considerations are what kind of clothing should you be wearing? And what is the forecast for the day? Yesterday we had a lot of rain. Today we might get some rain. The water temperature, it's 60 degrees, so it's not super, super cold, but it's not super warm either. So I'm dressed in waders with a Grundon's base layer under the waders. I've got on my Crocs. Just makes it easy to walk around. These are stocking foot waist waders. On my upper body, I have a thermal shirt, but underneath that I have a Grundon's base layer top. That's wicking material. It'll keep you warm even if you perspire. And right here behind me, I have my rain jacket in case it starts raining. Now here's a couple pro tips. One, I prefer waist waders. I've tried hip boots. Problem with those are, if you're playing with a fish, your groin area is not covered. It tends to drip on you. Your pants get wet or your shorts get wet. Now you're cold. I've tried chest waders. The problem with chest waders is it's really hard to go to the bathroom. Okay? These are waist waders, so I can pull them down real easy, do my business, and pull them right back up. They give me full coverage, but they give me the flexibility to, answer nature's call, as it would be. Your jacket. If you're getting a jacket, if you get into kayak fishing, you want to get a jacket that's 2 to 3 sizes too big, and I'll tell you why. Very often when you go out, you don't usually plan a trip when it's going to be a driving rain all day long, right? But sometimes, like today, I might get hit with a shower or two. I don't want to take my life jacket off to put my rain jacket on, and then when it stops raining, take the life jacket off again to take the rain jacket off. So by getting a jacket that's 2 to 3 times too large, you can put it over the life jacket. Plus, I try to refrain from taking the life jacket off when I'm in the kayak because, if something bad's going to happen, when's it going to happen? When you got the life jacket off, right? So that's something I try not to do. So those are a couple pro tips. Wear big insulated socks. And if you're out somewhere cold, like maybe Eagle Lake or somewhere, take a couple of those chemical hand warmers, drop them into your waders and let them work down to your feet. That will help keep your feet toasty warm. If your feet and hands are warm, you're gonna be a lot more comfortable. You're gonna fish better. You're gonna stay out on the water longer. So gloves are a good idea. I know I wouldn't need gloves today, but I probably have some in my pack, which is shoved under my seat. But keep the feet warm, keep the hands warm. It's gonna keep you in the game. It's gonna keep you fishing. If we look around the kayak, there's some basic things that I have in my kayak, but I will tell you this. Every avid kayaker's kayak, well, they have about the same stuff I have, especially the trout and salmon trolling guys. It's arrayed differently, okay? So here I have my Humminbird fish finder. I used a small Lowrance for years, but I swapped out a unit on my big boat, so I mounted that old unit on here, and I absolutely love it. I think it's important to have a unit that offers mapping. You never know when it's going to get foggy or something. You'll need to be able to find your way back to the ramp. Plus, it's just nice to be able to lay down a track, lay down waypoints. That's especially important if you're trolling for salmon. And really, for the cost of good units these days, it just makes sense to get one that has mapping capability. Enough said. Keep it simple. But you definitely want the option of dropping waypoints and stuff like that. My rod holders are right here. You're not going to believe this, but it took me a couple years to get these arrayed in a manner that I really like them. This one here always remains flat. This is typically either a top line, a lead core, or something maybe with a dipsy dive or something like that on it. This one here, I've got it set up flat today because I'm just going to be using lead core. I'm going to be trolling near the surface, but at times, I have a connection point over here where I put my little downrigger, my little Scotty downrigger. When I'm using the downrigger, I'll tilt this up so I get that proper curve in my rod. I like my rod over here because I'm right-handed. I mount the downrigger over here. I always mount the downrigger headed out at an angle because you're going to get blowback. So if you put it out at an angle like so, blowback is going to put your clip right here. Over here, kind of proud of this, although it's just a piece of total hillbilly engineering, but I got myself a 4 rocket launcher rod holder over there to get the rods out of the boat. I have 6 rod holders in the kayak, but I want as much working space in the kayak as possible, so I really like having my rods over here in this vertical position. I purposefully don't put anything on the back deck. When I got Lucy with me, that's her space, that's her area. So that's a couple pieces of gear that every serious fishing kayak needs to have. Is a landing net. This here is an Ego slider net, and I do have it tethered to the kayak in case I drop it. I've never dropped it, but I still have it tethered. It's about an $89 net. It'll scope out to 60 inches long, but I've just got it set at a length that I feel comfortable with, and I just kind of leave it there. I don't scope it down for transport or anything. What you don't want to get is like a little short trout net. You don't want to have to be leaning out to get your fish. You want to be able to reach out with this net, especially when you got a big fish on. You might get one shot at them with the net. So have a good size net, good size hoop. Go with the rubber net, not the rubber coated. Go with a full rubber net. Just saves you a lot of headaches, and if you are releasing fish, it doesn't mess up the fish, doesn't put a lot of wear and tear on the fish. But if you're fishing something like a Rapala or a flatfish or whatever that has, treble hooks on it, they are not going to get tangled in the rubber mesh, and it's just going to make your life easier in general. So that's one thing you're going to need, is a quality landing net. As I said, I really like the Ego slider. It's a great net, comfortable in my hand, plenty strong, plenty big. Enough said. It works. Been using them for years. That's my second net. I wore one out, and it's just a good quality net. The other thing you're going to need is a paddle. Now, when I got the kayak, when I got the Pro Angler, this was a big, long, double-ended paddle, and I used that for a long time, but I found it to be cumbersome. And this big kayak, it is not really well suited to paddling with the paddle. You can do it, but it's more of a tool to get you offshore, to shore, and in an emergency, if your pedal drive breaks, it will get you back to the launch ramp. So what I did, I bought this add-on Hobie handle right here, grip, and I shortened the paddle down to, I don't know, that's probably 56, 60 inches, something like that. It's just long enough to maneuver the kayak, but it's not so long as to be in the way in the kayak when I'm out fishing, because honestly, I don't use it that often. I do have it tethered. Now, if I go bass fishing or something like that, where I'm inshore and I need to make some fine movements that I might not necessarily want to make with the pedals, I'll definitely set this across my lap, use it for fine maneuvering. I was using it up at Rollins Lake last week when I was bass fishing. So you definitely want a paddle, and I opt for a shorter paddle just because it stores better in the kayak. It's not in my way. So that's the basic layout. Once you get a kayak dialed in, this Hobie has a very comfortable chair. This is way more comfortable than any of the little Gregors I ever fished out of. Once you get this cockpit laid out, it is part of you and you are part of it, if that makes sense. You are actually presenting your baits with the kayak, and everything's at hands, within reaching distance. I can work on the sonar. I can grab a rod. My steering is right here. I pedal with my hands on the steering controls. Bottom line is, the kayak becomes part of you. You become part of it. It's part of the lake. And that's a portion or a part of why a kayak is such an effective fishing platform. I have guys out on my boat. I'll say, I love fishing on my kayak, and they'll scoff at me. They'll be like, oh, I have a Luma North duck well boat, and it's 23 feet long, and they just kind of dismiss the kayak as being a silly toy. I'll tell you what, if I absolutely positively had to go out and win a fishing contest or catch fish for any reason, I would choose the pedal kayak over a boat every time. It has many advantages. Stealth, the ability to stay in a very small area and target fish once you find them without spooking them. It gives me the opportunity to really manipulate the baits using the pedals, to zigzag, to make sharp turns. It is a super effective fishing platform. One of the things I've developed over the years being a kayaker is when I get one of those short strikes, I get on and off the pedals. I can actively hook fish using the vessel. And now I'm applying some of those techniques to my powerboat, and it's made me more effective on the powerboat. I can't vary the speed on the powerboat the way I can with the pedals in the kayak, but I can grab the rods, I can manipulate the rods, I can mimic what I do in the kayak. That often leads me to getting extra hookups and extra fish throughout the course of the day. And that's really important. If you take a 6-fish day and turn it into a 10-fish day or a 12-fish day, you know, you've taken a good day and turned it into a great day. Launching, easy, very simple. This kayak rides on a trailer, but I have wheels for it. They have kayaks. I'm most familiar with the Hobie line. I have a fleet of Hobie Lynx kayaks I use on guide trips. They only weigh about 40 pounds. You can pick them up and walk away with them. You can put them on top of a Prius and go trout trolling. Whenever I talk to folks about kayak fishing that haven't, been on a pedal kayak or on a serious fishing kayak, the question of propulsion always comes up. Now, I'm a big Hobie fan. This has the Hobie turbo fins on it. You do not get tired pedaling a kayak. Look at how gently I'm pedaling. I'm going 1.8 to 2 miles an hour now. It's actually hard, because I'm excited, to stay in the proper speed zone. When I came across the lake, I was going 3.8, 4 miles an hour just at a at a rhythmic pedal. I could have pedaled at that speed for a long time. So right now I'm going 1.8 miles an hour. The kayak wants to go, and on the Hobies, the turbo fins, they're very efficient. They have a lot of surface area. They just work. They're extremely durable. This is the second set of pedals I've had in this kayak. My first set lasted 4 years, and I guarantee you, I kayak way more than the average person. Thousands and thousands of hours, probably thousands of miles on those pedals before they finally, gave out. And I'm not Mr. Maintenance. I stick them in the kayak, I put them back in the storage box, and that's it. I didn't oil them or grease them or any of that stuff that you should do. So in my experience, the pedals are extremely durable. And I've heard similar things from guys that have got a bite right there. Now see it? I'll get off the pedals. This is my first bite. I'll let the kayak glide and I'll speed up a little bit. That's that orange spinner. I have a small piece of worm on this one. I have a larger piece of worm on that one. And I have them both spiked with the trigger sand. So I've got buddies that have the old towns with the propellers, and they tell me similar things. Of course, now there are a lot of kayaks on the market that feature electric motors, electric propulsion, and they're great. Problem I see with them is if you have an electric motor on your kayak in the state of California, at least, you have to get CF numbers. That has to be a registered vessel, which you've got some hoops to jump through there. Right now, we have some muscle quarantines in California. Some lakes are allowing non-motorized vessels, but they're not allowing motorized vessels. So that would be a handicap right there. And I've always got the idea in the back of my mind that I'd be out in Timbuktu somewhere, and I would run out of battery power, and that would be bad. So I prefer the pedals. I like the fitness aspect of it. I like the exercise aspect of it. I like the simplicity of it. I don't have to worry about batteries and and electric motors and stuff like that. But your mileage may vary, but that is an option if you're worried about, getting tired on the pedals. An electric motor is absolutely an option, and they have models that you can put in an electric motor and then you can swap in your pedals as well. So definitely some versatility there. You've taken the plunge, you've gotten your first kayak, you are now an aspiring trout and salmon kayak angler. Now your attention turns to, what are my presentations going to be? What kind of lure should I employ? What kind of tackle do I need? And I would tell you, based on my experience, you want to keep it simple to begin with. And I would start out targeting trout, because there are more lakes that have trout than have kokanee, than have king salmon. And in general, targeting trout is simpler than targeting kokanee and targeting kinks. Not that salmon fishing is complicated, but I just think that trout are a simpler fish to catch. You have more options in terms of destinations. So why not start with trout? Why not start with rainbow trout? You can find them in foothill lakes, valley lakes, and high mountain lakes. Enough said. If you target trout, you're going to have a lot of options. Personally, at times, I power troll out of my kayak. I troll 3.5 miles an hour. I pull things like Rapalas and Speedy Shiners and such. But I don't think for the beginner, power trolling is the way to go. And even for me, I spend most of my time trolling either at slow or medium speeds. And let me define speed for you just in terms of my overall trout fishing strategy. I define slow as anything from about 1.5 up to 2 miles an hour. Medium speed from about 2 miles an hour to about 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, something in that range. That's medium. Anything above 2.7 I consider fast. And for fast trolling, you might go all the way up to 4 miles an hour. But let's not think about fast trolling now. I think you should restrict yourself to slow and medium speed trolling. With the speed range defined, you've got to think about fishing at different depths, okay? Trout locate themselves in the depths of a lake based on the temperature. In the winter, late fall, early spring, when the surface temperature is 65 degrees or less, you can almost always count on some rainbow trout being in the top 10 feet of the water column. As the water water temperature begins to rise as you transition from spring to summer, those fish are going to start dropping down to remain in their comfort zone. When the surface temperature gets 70, 72 degrees, those fish will drop down into 15, 20 feet of water. When the surface temperature is 85 degrees, say at Folsom Lake in the summer or Lake Shasta, they may be all the way down at 60, 70 feet deep. So you need the ability to position your baits at different levels in the water column. Now right here, I have a downrigger rod. I use this rod for top lining baits in the cold months. By top lining, I mean just putting on a leader and putting a lure out behind the boat just under the surface. This rod works well for top lining. This is also the rod I use for downrigger fishing, and you will want to get and mount a small downrigger on your kayak. I always have mine with me. I have a little Scotty downrigger. It's up in my forward storage compartment right now, but the mount is right here. I could have it on the kayak in 5 minutes. I could be downrigger fishing. Downrigger fishing takes a little bit of practice. Don't be intimidated. It's not that hard. For all-around depth control during the fall, winter, and spring season, nothing beats lead core. I'm using a pair of lead core rods right now. I run my hybrid lead core system. I actually designed these rods. They're 6 foot 6 inches long for kayak fishing. The ability to change depths with lead core in the top, say 20, 25 feet of the water column is unparalleled with a downrigger, with a diver, with anything else. It's a super simple system. These rods have 3 colors of lead core on them, braid backing, and about a 50-foot monofilament top shot. My leader attaches to the top shot. Each color of lead core will get me down approximately 5 feet. Each color of lead core is 10 yards or 30 feet long. So 3 colors, I can easily get down 15 feet, sometimes a little bit deeper, sometimes 20 feet deep. The bottom line is, using the lead core, I can watch how many colors of line I got out and easily position my baits if I'm using 2 rods at 2 different depths. Right now what I'm doing is a prime example. On this rod I have 1 color out, so this spinner is down 5 feet. On my other rod I have about 2.5 colors out, so this spinner is positioned at about 12 feet deep. Okay, it's very replicatable, meaning when I catch a fish with a certain amount of line out, I can go right back to that depth when I put the lure out again. That's more important to me than knowing the exact depth. Is this rod at 5 feet, 6 feet, or 4 feet? I don't know precisely, but if I catch a fish on it, I know I can put it back to that same depth range based on how many colors of line I have out, if that makes sense. So that makes getting down to a set level where the fish are feeding very simple. Another toy, or tool I should say, I employ are divers. I like to use jet divers out of my kayak. I get them from a company called Fish USA. What's unique about the jet diver is they're very effective for getting your bait down as deep as 40 feet. They're very simple to use, and they float. And that's important for a new kayaker, because if you're using a Chinook diver that's made out of metal, or even a plastic Dipsy diver, if you stop pedaling, that diver is going to sink like a rock. But not with the jet drivers. They will actually float up. So that's a benefit, especially for the new kayaker. You might get excited, you might have a tangle, whatever, you get off the pedals. You don't have to worry about your gear sinking like a rock. That diver is going to slowly float up. You're not going to have any problem with snags or tangles. You're not going to lose a bunch of gear that way. So those are the 3 tools that I use to control my depth. Downriggers in the summer when the surface temperature is high. Lead core most of the year when the trout are in the top 15 to 20 feet of the water column. I utilize a top lining rod at times, and at times I do utilize divers, because I find divers to be simpler to use, as compared to a downrigger. And if the fish are, in that 25 to 40 foot range, it's a pretty simple deal to put on a diver, put it out behind the boat. It will dive down to the desired depth. When a fish grabs it, it will trip the trigger on there. The diver will stop diving. You can fight the fish directly, reel the fish in, hopefully net it, re-engage that trigger on the diver, get it right back down to the depth you need to be, and you're right back into the strike zone. So those are all very effective ways and very necessary ways of controlling your depth. And controlled depth, fishing is the core of trout, kokanee, and king salmon fishing. They're very affected by the temperature. They will stratify in the water according to the temperature, and you need to get your bait into the proper zone if you're going to get strikes. You control all day with an 85-degree surface temperature with a perfect presentation near the surface and not catch anything, where if you dropped your bait down 40 feet, you might be into wide open action. When it comes to baits, I'm not an advocate of having a massive selection of baits. Here's what I have with me today. I have a rigging box underneath my seat, which just has some beads and hooks and stuff like that in it, some swivels. I have a box of trolling flies right there. And I have a double-sided, this is actually a Home Depot toolbox. I've got some soft plastic, some leaders, and some spoons. On this side, I've got more spoons, I've got some spinners, and I've got some small plugs. That's it. That's all I have. And I think you'd be wise to stick with a similar selection of lures. Spoons. Spoons are very versatile. Small and medium-sized spoons, like my Trigger Spoons, Trigger Spoon Juniors. The Trigger Spoon is a medium speed lure. The Trigger Spoon Junior is a slow speed lure. Very effective. I get a few of each of those in an array of colors. I get some metallic models, some bait fish models, and some very bright colored models. Not a ton of them, just a small selection. In terms of plugs, I would definitely want to have some small Countdown Rapalas or Countdown Yozuri L minnows. Again, I'd stick with that same color combination. I'd want some kind of light over dark baitfish color, blue and silver, black and silver, maybe a rainbow trout, and maybe something bright like a fire tiger or an orange minnow. Mag lips are very effective trolling baits. I'd get either the small mag lip or the next to the smallest mag lip. Go with something. One of my all-time favorite mag lips is the frog. The gold and orange is very good. Chrome and blue is very good. Again, not a ton of those baits, but the mag lip has a very unique skip beat action. Those small mag lips, they'll dive down to about 8 feet with no added weight, so you can work that top of the water column. And they're very forgiving in terms of speed. You control them slow, you control them faster, stuff like that. But some Rapala type minnow plugs and some mag lips will cover you for plugs. Spinners like I'm trolling today, they're very effective for trout, and they're also very effective for kokanee, and sometimes they're effective for kings. So I would invest in a selection of spinners. The Uncle Larry's trout spinners that you can rig a worm on, they're a must-have item. Get some colors you feel confident in. The double hook Uncle Larry's kokanee spinners, if you decide to try some kokanee fishing, I'll do a video about that in the future, but a variety of colors of those you'd be wise to have, and you can catch trout on those double hook Uncle Larry's as well. Every time you get on the kayak, you definitely want to have some night crawlers. You want a selection of soft plastics. My Trick Series baits, the grubs, the minnows, and the worms, they've been proven time and time again. Those are lures that work well at slow speeds, at medium speeds. 1.8 is my favorite speed to troll those. They have an action like nothing else. They look real, they feel real, they come in a variety of different colors, and they're so soft that when the fish grabs them or repeatedly grabs them, if they're being tentative, it feels like real bait. Spike that with some scent. I prefer my trigger scent. The plastics, the soft plastics hold scent very well. You've got one of the most effective lures in trout trolling if you're pulling my soft plastics. Again, you know, nothing works all day, every day, but those lures work at most lakes, most days, anywhere in the world. I've got people fishing them in Australia. I've got people fishing them in Germany, Canada, Washington State, New York State, Colorado, and just about everywhere else in between. And I just get consistently positive feedback from folks fishing both my Trout Tricks minnows and my Trout Tricks worms. The final bait I would not personally be without is my trophy fish bait. Also, it's a great numbers bait, and that is a trolling fly. I offer several different types of trolling flies. My metalheads, those are a great choice. You can troll them slow at 1.5 to 1.8. You could troll them at a medium speed, and you could take them all the way up to 3 miles an hour. Very versatile in terms of speed. Get some bait fish colors, get some dark colors, and get some bright colors. I just got a note from a guy in Colorado. He was out catching trout after trout after trout on the black and green metalhead. He was having a great day. So the metalheads are very effective. If you're looking for a larger trophy fly, my trigger fly is very good. It has an extended hook on it. The extended hook helps to limit short strikes. But long story short, you need some trolling flies. Trolling flies are a key trophy trout bait for me, more so than Rapalas. Ooh, I just had a good bite. More so than Rapalas or spoons, because a fly represents a bait fish, and it's also an offering that the trout don't see very often. Most years I'll catch my biggest trout of the year on some sort of trolling fly, and the biggest trout any of my guide clients has ever caught 13 pounds, what a monster, came on a pink and white metalhead. The biggest wild rainbow I've ever caught came at Lake Elmonor. The fish was about 7 pounds, and it came on a white trolling fly pulled just underneath the surface. So let's review. You want some plugs and you want some spoons. You want some night crawlers on the boat or on the kayak, and you want some spinners. You want an array of soft plastics, and you want some trolling flies. That's it. That's your lure selection. Get a few representative lures in each of those categories. Learn how to rig and fish the night crawlers. I've got several videos on the channel here that describe how to fish night crawlers. Once you've got the tackle that's going to allow you to position your bait throughout the water column, get a small selection of lures and get out on the water and really learn how to fish. It's time in the kayak, pulling baits, seeing how the fish react to the baits, seeing how the fish position themselves, how the fish react to various conditions and situations. That's what teaches you how to fish. By fishing out of a kayak, you're in the most effective platform you can be in. Figure out how to control the depth and learn how to fish those categories of lures I've just described with confidence. If you're not fishing with confidence, you're just not going to do as well. You need some confidence baits, some baits that you have utmost confidence in, and then get out on the water and fish those baits hard, and good things are going to happen. That's how big fish are caught. Confidence combined with patience. Learn your craft, learn the lakes, learn how trout react to various situations. Don't rely on gimmicks and toys and, temperature probes and the latest and greatest sonar unit. And those are all crutches for people that typically are looking for a shortcut. Don't look for a shortcut. Get a kayak, get a means to control the depth, get a selection of baits from the categories I just described, get out on the water and let the trout and the conditions teach you to be an exceptionally skilled trout angler. It takes hours on the water, it takes confidence, and it takes patience. And final thought, every time you hit the lake, every time you hit the water, you need to be looking for something to learn, something new, a new fact, a new observation. You need to be looking to learn something. I've been at this for a very long time. A lot of people consider me a master trout fisherman or master troller, but guess what? Every time I'm out on the water, I'm learning something new. These fish today, it wasn't that bad a storm that went through yesterday. We had a little rain yesterday, a little upset in the weather, but it had been very warm. These fish, even though I'm pulling night crawlers, they're being extremely tentative. So the weather affected these fish more than I anticipated it would. Am I going to catch fish? Absolutely. I have caught fish, but it's just an observation. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking it doesn't take a huge storm to really affect the bite, especially if that storm comes on the heel of some really warm, fair weather. That's what I've learned today so far. So when you're on the water, always look to add to your skill set, add to your mental bank of trout fishing facts, and you're going to be ahead of the game. Always be a student. Never get caught up in that idea of I know all there is to know and there's no more to learn. Believe me, there is always more to learn. There's always more to observe, and you can always hone your skills just a little bit more every time you hit the water.